with the news you need. Jim Bailey, Liz Mars, meteorologist Joe Reedy with weather, and Bob Haywood's Sports Minute. This is ABC 19 News at 11 in high definition.
A disabled World War II vet finds himself wondering how long it will take to clean up after last Wednesday's flood. Local volunteers step in to help out. Good evening. Thanks for choosing 19 News at 11. James
Collins is a bilateral amputee after being wounded in the Battle of the Bulge. 19 News' Cody Weddle spoke with him today. So, Cody, he's clearly a tough guy. I imagine he already planned to clean up by himself.
Yeah, Liz. Well, imagine living 69 years with barely even one working leg. By that point, you might think you could do just about anything, just like everybody else. And 89-year-old James Collins insists he could have cleaned up after this flood, but local volunteers stepped in to make sure he didn't have to. Natural disasters don't discriminate. Wednesday's flood affected all kinds, even 89-year-old World War II veteran and bilateral amputee James Collins.
I landed on the beach on D-Day. A German tank shot me. And my leg was shot completely off. It was laying 5 feet from me.
He hasn't asked for much help in his 69 years living in a wheelchair and crutches, and that wasn't about to change when water started pouring into his basement. You ever had a flood like this here before?
Oh, no. There's never been water here before.
Up to 2.5 inches of water stood in the basement, more in the garage, ruining the carpet and all kinds of items stored away. So Collins did what he's always done. He got to work.
Yeah, eventually I could get it done.
But a task that could have taken him several days, if not months, quickly turned into a half-day job. Fresh from assisting with Colorado wildfire cleanup, the local Southern Baptist Association disaster team heard of a need. And while Collins didn't like the idea at first,
he said, well, I've never had any help from anybody. You know, it's just the way it was.
Eventually, he accepted some extra hands. Volunteer Gary Hood says for his group, it's a pleasure.
Anytime you help somebody that, you know, has served your country, it's a good feeling to be able to help somebody like that.
To assist a man who served us all. Cody Weddle, 19 News, Kingsport.
Great. Thank you, Cody. Representatives from the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency and the Small Business Administration are here evaluating the flood damage. And many have been wondering if they are going to receive funding from the government to help with the recent flood damage. In order to have any money sent their way, they must meet certain criteria, and that is what the representatives are here for the next few days to try to help out with.
We've assessed 240 some residences and businesses. They obviously can't do that in the next day or two. They'll take all their data, all our data, send it to Washington, and the determination will be made on whether we meet the criteria.
The Bean says that they hope to have the results back in a couple of weeks.
Church groups like the ones you just saw aren't the only ones stepping up to help flood victims. This evening, Barberitos hosted a fundraiser to benefit those affected by the high waters, and the Kingsport restaurant donated 10% of their sales to Downtown Kingsport Association to help with the cost the business owners were hit with after the flooding. Many of downtown merchants were left with tens of thousands of dollars of damage and cleanup expenses. Barberitos says this is the best way they thought they could help their neighbors in need.
That we just want to build together our community and help each other when we fall down, and that's part of what being part of Kingsport, and especially downtown, is. When one falls, we all fall, and we want to help our neighbors out.
Now, Barberitos hopes to raise and donate between $500 to $1,000 to the victims. If you want to help the downtown shops get back on their feet, just contact the Downtown Kingsport Association. They need all kinds of assistance, from money to volunteers.
Finally, some Model City residents get some relief after last week's flooding. Samaritan's Purse in town to assist in aiding uninsured or underinsured homeowners with their flood damage. Samaritan's Purse is a Christian evangelical organization that provides relief assistance all around the world.
Out to do an assessment, and when we saw that yes, there is definitely a need here, that we will be able to assist the local community in cleanup, we made the decision to come on Monday afternoon.
Now, if you'd like to request assistance or volunteer, you can visit SamaritansPurse.org.
Last night, a Kingsport man arrested for shooting his way out of a vehicle tried to escape police officers. Sullivan County deputies arrested Warren Moore of Kingsport after being dispatched to a wreck off Rock City Road where several shots had been fired. Now, when officers arrived, witnesses said Moore had gone into a wooded area near the scene. They found him in a field about half a mile from the crash. Police say Moore admitted to drinking liquor and beer and using a pistol to get out of the vehicle's window. An officer found the discarded gun in the grass nearby. Moore is charged with reckless use of a deadly weapon, DUI, and evading arrest, among other charges. He remains in the Sullivan County Jail on a $2,500 bond.
A Kingsport couple faces felony child endangerment charges after their child was found within reach of a loaded syringe. Kingsport police say they received a call that a couple was in a truck on Wampler Street arguing and using drugs. Officers found Letitia Robinson and Stephen Collins in the truck with a baby in Robertson's lap, not in a car seat. The officer then noticed that both appeared to be under the influence of drugs. When the truck was searched, an officer found an empty syringe and a loaded syringe that was near the child. Both are charged now with child endangerment, public intoxication, and possessing drug paraphernalia. The child was placed in the custody of the Department of Children's Services. A Mooresburg woman arrested for threatening to kill another woman. Hawkins County Sheriff's deputies arrested Sheila Bennett after responding to an aggravated assault complaint. Misty White and Dwight Payne of Mooresburg told the deputy that Bennett pointed a gun at White's face and threatened to kill her. Bennett's son, Eric McGinnis, gave Bennett the gun when they approached White and Payne about a stolen air mattress. Bennett faces charges of aggravated assault.
A vehicle versus bicycle crash sent a young bike rider to the hospital in serious condition yesterday. Kingsport police say the 12-year-old girl didn't stop at a stop sign and got hit by a car. The girl suffered head injuries and is in stable but serious condition. The young girl was not wearing a helmet when the accident occurred. Police say a helmet could have helped since the head is the first part of the body that hits the ground when ejected from a motorcycle.
The head injuries are so severe anymore. It might not look like you see any damage, but you can have the internal damage with them. And especially on a bicycle with younger people, the chance of head injuries is very, very high.
Now, police say always wear a helmet while riding your bike. The vehicle involved in the crash was following all laws and no charges will be filed.
Students and parents will get help from the United Way at the end of this month. United Way will kick off the Stuff the Bus event next Monday. That will run through August 4th. The event will generate school supplies and hygiene items for children getting ready to go back to school in the area. If you'd like to donate something, you can drop it off, new items only, at Target or at the United Way of Greater Kingsport's V.O. Dobbins Community Complex between July 29th and August 4th. If you have any questions, just contact the United Way of Greater Kingsport at the numbers on your screen. There's also a website. A race fan favorite event will help local nonprofit groups with some extra fundraising. This year, Food City Race Night proceeds will go to the Crumbling House and the Crisis Center in Bristol, Tennessee. The Crisis Center provides an outlet for victims of sexual assault and also deals with suicide intervention and prevention. Nonprofit organizations rely solely on grants and donations to keep up and running. Emily Ann Thompson with the Crisis Center says opportunities to receive funds like these are crucial.
Because any grant you write and get funding through, they ultimately, it's not an endless grant. There's a grant cycle, and after so many years, they expect you to find other, sources of funding, and that's what, it's a continual search.
The Food City Race Night, of course, takes place on August 22nd. It's on State Street in downtown Bristol.
It's always a fun time.
It's always a fun time when you can say it.
And it kicks off the race weekend, too.
Yeah, it does.
So, Joe, it's usually pretty hot by now.
Yeah, I guess if we want the extreme heat, we better settle up and actually head out to the Wild West, down in the desert Southwest. That's where all the heat has actually been bottled up. But tonight, the concern actually turns to near record low territory. Take a look at this graphic. We will actually see tonight's low temperature. That's the forecast low of 56 degrees. The record low is actually set back in 2003, just 10 years ago today, at 58 degrees. And the average low is actually 65 degrees. So we will actually be running nearly 10 degrees below where we should be. Currently outside, we do have a temperature of 67 degrees. Actually, Mount Mitchell in western North Carolina currently has a temperature of 59 degrees, and the dew point right now is at 56 degrees. That's where my forecast low is actually at. That gives us a good indication of where temperatures can fall. Humidity is also lower at 62% with that northerly breeze with that high pressure at 5 miles per hour. The visibility outside is currently at 10 miles. And Charlie Foster is actually out enjoying the nice afternoon. He said forget the yard work and all the mowing the grass and cutting the weeds. After all this wet season, he's actually out and enjoying some kayaking this evening. You can share your stories with us to news tips at WKPTTV.com.
It's just getting too cool for me already.
Yeah, it can't be this cool this early.
No, and
it's spring, wetness,
how can you, I want to be sweating if I'm outside right now.
I just like to see some summer.
All right.
We hope so.
Month or two.
Thanks, Joe. Parents pitched in to make a difference.
But that doesn't mean that they aren't wondering why the Sullivan County school system isn't cleaning up their school. Some answers just ahead after Joe's full forecast, next on 19 News.